Greetings from the battlefield. This is Army of One, and this is going to be the battle report for the weeks of November 23rd and November 30th, 2012. Um, I must apologize. I was planning on doing a battle report last week. I do want to make this a weekly deal happening every week. But I'll put it this way, working at Walmart on Black Friday is absolutely exhausting. Um, so, moving on to the weekly topics. First up, I'll give you a quick update on what I'm doing with the Tech Lab. Patches. There were two patches, one from the 23rd, and one from the week of the 23rd, and one from just this past week. And I'll go over that in just a little bit of detail. I know you've had more than enough time to get used to them, and there's more patches coming up just on the 4th, so I won't spend too much time on patch notes. And, really, the largest story again is third person. Um, I'll just, yeah. I hope I don't go on another rant like I did last week, but no promises. So, moving on. First up, just a quick update for what I'm doing with the Tech Lab. Now, if you watched my last battle report a couple weeks ago, the Tech Lab is going to be build spotlights, but I think more importantly, the Tech Lab is going to be mechanics testing for this MechWarrior open beta. And that word beta, very, very important. This is nowhere near a polished release. So we must always keep that in mind. And with that, I will be testing perhaps the single most important factor in a battle, which is heat generation, heat dissipation. I want to do the whole shebang, and I will be testing over every map with hopefully every single weapon system in the game. And I'll give you a little bit of information on what I have uncovered, and also a reason why I haven't quite done it as quickly as I thought it would be. I had hoped to get this out maybe early this week or last week, but it's taking a bit longer. I wasn't quite getting the accuracy that I wanted to. I just overclocked my PC just earlier today, in fact. So maybe hopefully I should be getting higher frames, higher frame rate, so I can get better numbers when I'm looking through the footage that I'm testing. So, just a quick rundown on what I've gotten so far. It's working! Heat generation is working as expected. I did contact the game master, Magius, and although it was just more of a confirmation of the general theories of what I had, but he wasn't specific at all. So, a little bit helpful, Magius, I'll give you that, but not exactly what I was looking for. But anyway, I found that at least the PPC and the ERPPC are generating heat as expected. I haven't started with lasers yet because I'm really focusing on heat dissipation, and I'm making sure that that is working as intended and how it's working in every single map. And I'll tell you right now that, as expected, Caustic Valley does reduce heat. I'll give you specific numbers in the Tech Lab. Heat dissipation, that is. Frozen City Night does does increase heat dissipation, as expected. Frozen Colony Snow gives you a little bit of a boost, but right now, the biggest thing that I've found is that Frozen City is not giving any heat dissipation bonuses whatsoever. Exactly the same as both River City and Forest Colony. Again, I will go into more detail when I get into the Tech Lab, when I post that full video in the upcoming, hopefully this week, but very near future. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the patch notes. Okay, patch notes. Now, I'll go ahead and do just these really quickly. I know that a lot of you have already been playing for, well, 2 weeks on the November 20th patch, but I'll just go ahead and do it real quick, just a quick overview. So, on the 20th, PGI released the patch that released the Cataphract, a heavy mech, very, very versatile mech, in my opinion. It mainly focuses on ballistics and energy weapons, and one of the big things, the Cataract variant 3D has jump jets, so it's pretty cool. Also, the other big thing that they added on the 20th was the Beagle Active Probe, which allowed your mech to target mechs 25% farther than usual. They also locked on, and 75% of the time it was a 25% boost to lock on speed. And also you can target powered down mechs within 120 meters of your own mech. Now, on the 27th, this is just last week's patch. Couple big things. Biggest thing was the camo system was added, at least the first phase of mech customization, visual customization. Now you can get patterns and camo for C-Bells, for MC. Now, in my opinion, it is a bit expensive, and it really sucks that because it's expensive and it's not permanent, you don't have it unlocked forever. Every time you want to re-customize your mech, you have to shell out more money, like $5 again for another paint job. So you can't readily go from, like, for example, your Pug paint job to a Merc paint job for any company that you were running with. But that's just an opinion. New level variant was added, the Frozen City Knight. I already mentioned it earlier when talking with the Tech Lab. It's a night version of Frozen City. The biggest change was that the fog of war, the blizzard that was present in Frozen City, is no longer there, so you have very, very clear views for quite a while, quite a ways, making hiding in between buildings all that much more important. As for balance changes, LRMs were buffed by 0.1 damage, so they now do 1.8 damage instead of 1.7, and Bitch and Betty was added. Yes, Carol Ruger, I'll look up her name real quick and put it in the annotations, of MechWarrior 2, the voice actress that did the Bitch and Betty voice in that game, has come back to reprise her role as your, well, I wish she was a bit more smartass, but your computer in your mech, and she'll tell you when you have a target lock, when you've acquired a new target. It's kind of annoying when you keep doing that. Whenever you have missiles incoming, whenever your ammo is low, whenever you've run out of ammo, just a bunch of things. It's actually really, really cool, and it adds a lot to the immersion. Now, big and real quick, just a quick overview on what's coming up and what to expect in the December 4th patch, and a little other things on the horizon. Now, next patch, very, very big thing is coming. Matchmaking Phase 2 has been announced to come out. That's the 8-man only team. I'll go into all detail next week when the patch actually hits. So, Matchmaker Phase 2, Gauss Health will drop to 3 from 10. ECM will be implemented. Again, that's another big system that I'll go ahead and go into detail with next battle report next week when the patch has become live. And also, we're going to see our next hero mech, the Cataphract Ayla Muromets. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that, but it's going to be 3 ballistic hardpoint, 3 energy hardpoint. And there's a story behind it, and it sounds like this guy, the pilot, isn't in any lore so far, so he's a new guy, whatever. It's cool to see that we're starting to get some more hero mechs. Big thing about this guy is the 3 ballistic hardpoints, and people are already screaming triple Gauss, but if you take a look at it, it's going to be pretty much just a novelty build, nothing much to it. So that's what's next patch, and in future patches we'll also see the AC autocannon shake and ballistic trajectory, the speed of the projectile change a little bit. So the AC-20, when you get hit by it, it's going to be moving faster, just a bit faster than it is now. and it's going to hit you much much harder. And then everything will be scaled down from there. So it'll be just a little bit faster for the AC-10 and just a little faster for the 5. And I'm not even sure that they're going to change the AC-2. And then the shake will go down for the different damage. Okay, that does it for past, present, and upcoming patch notes. Let's go ahead and move into the largest story again for this week. First off, Brian Ekman did come back, and on November 20th, made an update to his Into the Lab command chair. Starting with Holy Kerfuffle Batman. Well, he doesn't really say anything of note, really. He just sort of repeats what Russ explained on the No Guts, No Galaxy Mechs, Devs, and Beer podcast that made the announcement originally. Brian just goes over saying you're going to be able to toggle. It's a matchmaker option. It won't affect line of sight. And they're working on it in the offices. And he also says for new users, third person could be default, or there would be a prompt for new players to select their viewpoint, and they could see how their torso twist and throttle work from the outside. Reduces new user friction and gets them into the game faster with less frustration. And the feature was designed to maximize player choice by letting people select which mode they prefer. So, on November 20th, Brian was still saying that this is really they're implementing it for the new players to give them a good feel of how their mech works. Again, I will say just real quick, that's nothing that a good tutorial wouldn't fix. You can easily, well, okay, I won't say easily. Easily is very subjective. I will say you can put in a tutorial that would do the exact same thing, teach you how your mech works, how torso twist works, how torso to legs work, how perspective works from your mech. That's probably the biggest thing. Just the new player perspective, how their mech feels spatially in relationship with the environment. That's what they're trying to tackle with third person. But I'll go a little bit further. I'll go further into that a little further on after this. On November 28th, Russ Bullock, yeah, I know, again, showed up on the No Guts, No Galaxy podcast. Again. And he talked about third person. Again. Now, I'll get into my take on Russ's words after I show you a couple clips of him speaking on the No Guts, No Galaxy podcast. But I will say, before we listen to anything, that he does make a drastic change in argument halfway through his argument. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and take a listen to Russ Bullock on No Guts, No Galaxy podcast number 52. This starts about 23 minutes in, so take a listen.
There's just some people, believe it or not, and you can, mock them or ridicule them, but they're used to playing in third person. They understand playing third person, and believe it or not, it's extremely difficult for a new player. I mean, it's like watching your mom, try to program the VCR. Some of these guys get in there and they're trying to manipulate their torso independently with the mouse and the throttle. They don't really quite get right. They're used to shooters. You let go W. And there's a million and one ideas to how to fix this, but frankly, a brand new user, they want to see what's going on. They want to see their mech, right? They want to watch it. They think there's nothing better. They're like, why would you never want to do that? So, I mean, the bottom line is, we think if we want to grow the game beyond just a core game, ultimately we're going to need it. And we could almost look at third person like almost like a training type of environment. But the bottom line is we have to ask ourselves, say, okay, so why do we care? Why do I or you, as a hardcore MechWarrior fan, why do you give a shit? It's like, okay, let's think about that. Why would I give a crap? Well, first off, if I never have to play in third person, I shouldn't care, for one, right? Number two, if the other person is playing in third person, does it give them some advantage against me? And that's one of the biggest concerns we're trying to tackle. The simplest way is, okay, don't ever play against anyone who's running third person at all. So that's really become a matchmaking mode.
So, sorry that I couldn't cut that down. I wanted to try to get it as short as possible, but I also wanted to show exactly how Russ went from point to point in his argument. And, say the least, he jumped around a bit. But what I got out of it is he made 2 points. 2 main tenets of his argument were, one, they wanted to help the new players. They wanted to increase the ease of access to the game. They wanted to limit the friction for the new player experience. And 2, they wanted to grow the player base, grow the brand name. Well, the first argument that you made was the exact same argument as the first time that you announced it, was to help the new player. And my personal opinion on that is there is nothing that a good tutorial could not do that adding third person could. So, Russ Bullock, Brian Ekman, Paul Inoue, if you're listening, thank you. If you're listening, seriously, thank you. But put in a tutorial before thinking about putting in third person. If you want to show people how torso to legs to throttle to spatial recognition of your mech, put in a freaking tutorial. You've thrown them into trial mechs and you've said have fun. That's it. That is the new player experience that you have right now. And you think that adding a third person camera mode would be easier to help that new player into the game rather than a tutorial? If you're trying to help the new player, you think adding a third person is better than adding a tutorial for the new player? Anyway, the second argument that Russ made was he wants to grow the player base. And I don't know. I'll say I don't know. My thoughts on that is what player base are you catering to? By adding third person, I don't know, is there some demographic of people that say, no, I don't play Call of Duty, it's first person, I only play Gears of War, it's third person, I can see the torso. What? I'm sorry, it doesn't make sense to me that adding third person, the argument that adding third person would open up your game to more players than it would otherwise not have access to. And again, I will say that adding a tutorial to make the new player experience much smoother than it is right now will serve the exact same purpose of adding a third-person camera, and you don't have to worry about fracturing your player base, and you don't have to worry about trying to balance third-person cameras, peeking around rocks. And my last point on this, I promise it's my last point this time. My last thought is that it sounds like they are already testing it. They've already put it in. I don't know how easy it is to put in another camera angle, but it sounds like they already have this in testing, that they're trying. Let's see. Russ said that in his second point when he was talking about, oh, why should I give a shit? Okay. If the other person is playing in third person, does it give him some advantage against me? And that's one of the biggest concerns we're trying to tackle. Trying to tackle. Not thinking about tackling. Not trying to think of. Trying to tackle. It sounds like, to me, you've already put it in, and you're trying to come up with an excuse that's acceptable for the community, that the community will say, oh, okay, I understand. And growing the player base, if you don't think about it that much, growing the player base, good idea. Nothing against wanting to grow the player base. But growing the player base by adding a new camera angle, Think about that for a second. Does that make any sense? Okay. I think that I've spoken enough about that. And I know that, unfortunately, we'll be hearing more and more about third person as long as the topic continues to exist. Now, please, I do want this to be community discussion. I want there to be some sort of dialogue instead of me just talking at you. Please leave your comments, leave your opinions down in the comments below. I want to see what your perspective on the third person perspective issue is. Do you think that adding in third person will actually grow the player base? Do you think it'll open up to a demographic that would not have considered MechWarrior in the first place had it not been for third person? So please, we're open for discussion here. Now, the next patch is coming out on Tuesday, so that's only like 3 days away from now from this recording. And there's going to be quite a few changes. So, until next time, this is the Army of One, and this has been the Battle Report for the weeks of November 23rd and November 30th, 2012. Until next time.